Hi, welcome to the Rose at Home channel. I am Rose, I am at home, and it is time again for another TBR. If you're thinking, I'm a mood reader, I really can't do a TBR, you really can. And it's different from the way some of the folks do it, especially the folks with the games and things like that. So I'm gonna walk you through how I, as a mood reader, make my TBR, and how if you would like to, you can as well. And if you want to go down into the doobly-doo at the bottom, I've listed out all of the prompts so that you can go through and make your own mood read TBR. So what's the point of making a TBR if you're a mood reader? The point for me is that, as you can see behind me, I have a lot of books. I have a lot of books. And if I don't make some type of TBR, I end up spending so much time in between reads trying to decide what am I in the mood for, and then out of all of those types of books, how do I pick which one? So this takes this, I want to say my physical TBR is a little over 200 books on my shelves right now. It takes that 200 books and narrows it down to 10 to 12, and I still leave a prompt at the end. When we get to the end, I'll tell you about that, where I can switch out anything. The way I do it is I pick different books for specific moods. So when I'm in the mood for something that does one thing or another, that's the book I'm going to reach for. So I'm going to go through each of those with you and then tell you what I've picked for this month. One last thing before we get into it. Don't try to just slot things in. Really think about things that you are looking forward to reading, you really want to read, that are kind of calling to you from your shelves. Make the prompts fit the things that you would like to read within the next month, not the other way around. If you just try to pick things that fit the specific directions, you're going to end up with a dozen books that you don't want to read, and I guess it narrows it down that way, but that's not really the point here. So adjust the prompts to fit where you feel like you're gonna be this month, or where you're already kind of leaning toward. The first prompt is, I want to feel good. This can be a comedy if you like reading those. This can be a romance if you love reading when people get together, something's gonna put a smile on your face. It can be anything that you know, I love this type of book. I love reading this kind of thing. That's what you're gonna pull. For me, I think I just shook you, but for me, I do love reading about murder. It is one of my favorite things. And so for my I Want to Feel Good this month, I picked A Most Agreeable Murder. If you just watched my book haul for July, I just got this and I'm dying to read it. I see the smile, see how good I already feel knowing that there's a very good chance this is going to get read in August. That's what you want when you pick this book. It should be something you're super excited to get to. Basically, this is kind of a Jane Austen meets Jessica Fletcher, from what I understand. It's an Austen era. Think Elizabeth Bennet is also like obsessed with crime and murder. She's trying to kind of hide that because women don't do that, and she's also trying to help solve murders. That's what I got from what I've heard about this, and I can't wait. I am really happy to get to this month. The second prompt, which is going to be down in the doobly-doo, but I don't have a book for this month, is I want to think. It is for books that are nonfiction, books that are more intellectual, books that might be a stretch for you reading wise. I did not pick one this month, and I thought about just picking it and having it there, but I didn't want to do that because I know for a fact I'm not going to read anything like that in my spare time, because I go back to work on Wednesday of this week. I go back to teaching, and there's going to be so much intellectual reading and so much thinking and brain power that is going to be used in my days. I need books this month that are escape books that I can kind of just enjoy. That doesn't mean you can't. So it's on the list, and you can see that down in the bottom. So it's I want to think, it's nonfiction, it's stretch books, it's anything like that that kind of gets your brain going. The third prompt is I want a good scare. I'm not huge on horror books, but sometimes I get in the mood for that. I don't always end up picking them off the TBR, but I want to have something there and at the ready for when I'm in that mood. And this I've heard so much about, and I'm really excited to get to it. And it is Lone Woman by Victor LaValle. And from what I understand, this is the story of a black woman who her parents either are killed or disappear. She's got this trunk with God only knows what is in it. And she ends up moving out to, I believe, Montana. And this is the time when they're homesteading and you just kind of get a plot, and if you agree to work it and build a house and all of that, you get it for free. I believe there's a historical fiction element to this. There's monsters of some sort. There's all sorts of mystery and mayhem. It's not super long, which is another thing that I kind of need for August with going back to work. And I'm really excited to get to this. If you want a good scare, that's what it's for. Anything that to you is, if full out horror is your thing, then go for it. If something that's a little like mystery with a horror element to it is your thing, then that's what I did, and that totally fits for this prompt. The next prompt is, I want twists and turns. So do you like mysteries? Do you like thrillers? Do you like suspense? What is it that's going to keep you on your toes and keep you turning those pages? And if that is your thing, or even sometimes you get in the mood for that, that's what this prompt is for. For this prompt, I picked Sally Hepworth's The Soulmate. From what I understand about this one, there is a couple that live really near a cliff that unfortunately people use to jump off when they're in a really bad place. One of the things that they find themselves doing, they see people out there and they go and basically kind of talk them down. One day, our, I guess, protagonist's husband sees a woman out there. He goes out there and she jumps. And then we come to find out he actually knew her. So did she jump? Did he talk her into jumping? Did he push her? We don't know. We don't know what all the connections were. And so I think this is going to be really great. I think I'm going to really love this. Again, it's not super long, so there's a really good chance I should be able to get to it and get through it. And I'm very, very excited for it. The next prompt is, I want a good cry. And if you're like me, sometimes you just got to feel those feels. You got to let all of that stuff out that maybe is building up. I get that way when I start teaching, for sure. So it's just something that's a tearjerker, something that's going to make you emotional. And for this month, I picked River Sing Me Home. This is the story of a woman who was enslaved in Barbados. They get told that slavery is over, but instead of being able to just rejoice in that, she's now, I guess this is good, she's now free to find her children, because while she was enslaved, her children were taken from her and sold away to different plantations and things. And so it's her trying to find what happened to her children and where they are. It sounds like there's going to be some sadness and a lot of feels, and that's what this prompt is really good for. So I'm really, again, not super long, I'm really excited to get to this month. The next prompt is, I want to escape. So fantasy, sci-fi, maybe it's an old favorite that you want to escape back into that world, something that's going to take you far away from this place and put you someplace else. That's what this prompt is really good for. So whatever of that type of thing that you like, that's what you should pick for this. And for this month, for me, I picked Chloe Gong's Immortal Longings. I've been looking forward to this for a few months now. It just did come out, so the recap is in my last video if you want to go back and see that. But basically, this is an Antony and Cleopatra retelling. There's some type of like games or challenge or things like that, and there's a young woman who is a princess, and apparently like she killed her parents and now she wants to kill her uncle who's the king, and if she wins the contest she'll get access to him. And so she's trying to win. There's a gentleman whose sister or family member, I'm not sure which, is like in a coma, and in order to get what he needs to save her, he needs to win. So there's them, there's another cousin, there's all of these people and all of this intrigue, and it sounds Absolutely amazing. I am super, and again, for a fantasy, and it is Chloe Gong's first adult fantasy, but for a fantasy, it doesn't seem to be super long, so I think it fits in, and I'm so here for this one. I cannot wait to pick this up. The next prompt is, I want a challenge. Now, this is whatever to you is challenging. For some people, this is where a nonfiction could go. It could be something that's really long. If you were talking, super long books. It could be something that's a little bit more literary than what you normally read. Whatever is going to be a challenge for you when you're like, you know what, I want to take a nice big bite out of something. For me, I have picked this month S.A. Cosby's All the Sinners Bleed. And I'm calling this a challenge because it seems like it's going to be really heavy and really emotionally challenging. It is the story of a small town with the first black sheriff. From what I understand, there is a teacher who is killed, and then his deputies shoot the killer or shoot the person who shot the teacher, and the whole town kind of explodes over it. It's caused like huge turmoil within the town and huge division, and he's trying to hold things together, and it sounds like it's going to be emotionally taxing. It sounds like it's not going to be an easy breezy light read. It sounds like it's going to be something that's going to take some emotional investment, and that's going to be a challenge, especially this month, but I want to try to give it a shot. I've been wanting to read S.A. Cosby for a while now, and so I'm excited to get into my first go with him. Next is, I want a seasonal read. And for many of you, that will still be a summer read because it's still summer. But for me, a seasonal read is back to school. And so I put Leigh Bardugo's Hellbent in this spot. This is the one that I'm most thinking I'm not going to get to it, only because I honestly want to reread Ninth House before I read this one for the first time. And this one by itself is already a chunker, so I don't know that I'm going to have time to do both this month and get to the other things that I want to read. So we'll see, but I'm not going to tell you too much about this one as it is a sequel. But Ninth House is set at a university. There is a young woman who is at the university, and she is part of a group that oversees secret societies within this university, and hijinks ensued. Ninth House was amazing, and from what I've heard, this one is just as good, if not better. I do want to read it. I absolutely do. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to get there, but I want it on the shelf just in case I'm like, you know what? Today's the day, and then here it is. The next prompt for the Mood Read TBR is, I've been wanting to read this for a while, and this is the prompt where you really go back and look at things that have been on the shelf for a hot minute, and you just haven't managed to get to. This is not a place to put something where you feel like, oh, I have to. There is one of those prompts coming up, but this is I really have wanted to read that for forever, and I just haven't been able to get to it. For me, that is Cold Wind by Paige Shelton. I added this series by her into my books I love that folks aren't picking up. It doesn't have a lot of reads on Goodreads, but I absolutely head over heels in love with the first one. It's one of my favorite kind of amateur detective series, and I still haven't read the second one though. And I knew there was a third. This series has gotten to 5 now, and I love that character, and I loved the writing in the first one, so I've had this on the shelf since it came out, and I really do want to get to it. Again, it meets that length test. It's not super long, and I want to read it, and I want to read it so that I am justified in going ahead and getting the next 3, because I know I'm gonna love them. And the next prompt is, oh, shiny. This is the place where something you just got and you can't get it out of your head kind of fits. You'll notice there's a lot of those in this TBR for me. Again, you fit the prompts to what it is that you really feel like you're gonna want to read, not the other way around. So for me, that was a lot of these newer things. But the thing that's gonna go in here, because I can't get it out of my head, is Dead 11. It's a little bit longer than the things that I've been picking so far, but this is It sounds awesome. From what I understand, there's a cult and they're stuck in like 1984. They don't use any modern technology. They only use the stuff that was available in 94 or the early 90s. They still wear early 90s clothes. And then every night, everyone in town rewatches the O.J. Simpson Bronco chase. Like, they're just completely immersed in, I don't know why. I want to know why. I want to know what's going on. So I really can't wait for this, even though it's longer than what I was trying to stick to for this month. I really hope that I am able to pick this one up off of this TBR this month because I'm super excited for it. The next prompt is, I really need to read this. This is where things that you're buddy reading with a friend go, things that you are reading for a book club go, things that you really can't wait for later down the road. There is an actual deadline. And for me, this is my last month of being in 2 book clubs. They're the summer book clubs at my local independent bookstore. And so the first one is the Mystery Book Club. This is next weekend, so I'm gonna have to get to this really fast, but it is Alice Feeney's Rock, Paper, Scissors. And it is apparently a domestic thriller. It's about a couple named Mr. and Mrs. Wright, but apparently not everything is right in their marriage, and they somehow win a trip to Scotland, but maybe they didn't. Maybe it's a setup. Maybe one of them is lying. I don't know. It sounds really intriguing. From what I've seen in reviews, this is a kind of love it or hate it. But from what I'm getting from hearing from other people, if you really like domestic thrillers, you'll really like it. And I love domestic thrillers. So I'm super excited, and I'm always excited to go to book club and have the discussions because we have amazing discussions at book club. The second thing for my second book club, which is called the Party Misadventures book club, is A Psalm for the Well-Built. And I'm going to tell you, I've read the inside cover. I covered this in my last video. I still don't know what this is about. It's super little, so it should be easy to fit in and get to. That book club meets at the end of the month, so I've got lots of time to get to this. From what I understand, there were robots, and then the robots went away, and now the robots are back, and they're trying to find a way to still serve humanity without realizing that the wants of one human are not the wants of all of the humans. I don't know. I didn't get a sense of plot from the unless it's not got a super heavy plot, but I'm excited for it. I do really enjoy book club. Like I just said, I enjoy the people at book club. It'll be sad when book club is over. I get 2 more shots. The different people go to the different book clubs. Am I the only one who, I might be the only one who does both. So it's different folks, and I really enjoy all of them. The last prompt is, I'd rather read this. And that is the best one for a mood reader. So if it's the middle of the month and you're looking at your shelf of the things that you've pulled and you're like, I don't want to read any of these. I really want to read Crooked Kingdom, then go read Crooked Kingdom. That's what that prompt is for, and you can reuse it all you want. And if at the end of the month you realize I read far more things for the I'd rather read this than the things I picked, then go back to how you're picking and make sure that you are listening to your heart, listening to your head, listening to your desires, and really making the prompts work for what you want to read, not the other way around. But in the meantime, I hope that you have an absolutely amazing week and that you get to read some absolutely amazing books, maybe from a new mood TBR. Bye, y'all.